And so next up, Mrs. Amy Rumbo-Morrell is going to discuss more information about what testing is going to look like for your students and how the changes will be impacting their experience.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Rumbo-Morrell. I am the District Supervisor of Assessments and Grants here in North Brunswick. And as a former Linwood teacher for 12 years and proctoring NJASC, I wanted to spend a few moments comparing and looking at the NJASC and HESPA compared to the upcoming Parcc assessments. With NJASC and HESPA, we looked at a single test administration once a year. For NJASC, it was April into May for the middle school and elementary schools, and with HESPA, we looked at March in particular. With Parcc, we are looking at March for performance-based assessments for grades 3 through 11, and April, May for the end of the year assessment. And when we take a look at some of the actual scheduling, although NJASC and HESPA were single test administrations once a year, they still were for HESPA 3 days of testing, and for NJASC 4 to 5 days. And you're going to see the same thing is going to be with Parcc. In the March performance-based assessment, we are looking at 5 days, and in the April-May, for most grades it will be 4 days, and for some it will only be 3 days. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. With the NJASC and HESPA, we had to reconfigure most of our schedule with early closings, delayed openings, and again, that caused a lot of major disruptions with student schedules throughout the buildings. With Parcc, we are given a 20-day window, which allows us a lot more flexibility with our scheduling within the school buildings, again, and to get the students back into the classrooms where we will be focusing back on teaching and learning. Obviously, the major difference between NJASC and HESPA is that they were paper-based, no technology. Parcc is administered primarily online. With the NJASC and HESPA, anywhere from 60 to 135 minutes per day, again, using that 3 to 4 to 5 day test administration would be for a single sitting for a student. With Parcc, they will experience anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes per day. So again, you do see that gap shrink now with Parcc. The NJASC was for English Language Arts in grades 3 through 8 and 11 with the HESPA. With Parcc, our grades 9 and 10 will also be engaged in English Language Arts. With math, the same thing. For NJASC and HESPA, it was grades 3 through 8 and grade 11. For Parcc, we are looking at math, grades 3 through 8, and then students currently in grades 3 through 11 who take Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Going back to that, again, if you have a middle school student who is currently enrolled in Algebra 1 or Geometry, that is the Parcc assessment that they will take. Important to know, and why we included it on this slide, is that the past 2 NJASC administrations, there was transitional alignment to the Common Core. Although not a technical assessment, this was, NJASC paper-based, they did include a large number of test items and questions that were Common Core, content-rich, and also with rigor. Oops, sorry. Typical students' testing experience. Students, most of them, will be testing primarily at the elementary and middle school levels in their classroom, in a classroom setting, and as much scheduling that has gone into it by our school test coordinators is to keep the students in a familiar setting. Just like when they took NJASC or HESPA, they would take them in a classroom. We are looking at, primarily from grades, the middle school and high school, use of some of our computer labs as well as our media center that will be supplied and stocked with computers for the students to use. When we look at the schedules in a few minutes, we really worked with the schools, the school administrators to build a schedule across the district for students to have equitable AM and PM sessions. Again, we'll look at the schedule in a little bit more depth, but please note that does not mean students are not testing in the morning and then again in the afternoon. They will test either in the morning or the PM depending on the certain day. And again, we're going to see that we will have like a Group A testing in the morning, but the next day that Group A would test in the afternoon. We really work to make this as equitable for students to get that experience of testing once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Again, not within the same day. Students whose accommodations require some small group or extended time, they will always test in the morning every day for their test sessions. Typically, the administrators are trying to schedule your child with their child's teacher. Primarily in the elementary, they will be testing with their homeroom teacher, and same thing with the middle school, a familiar, a teacher that they have. Question? We are getting to that. That's
Now you know why he's leaving in a couple months. I think it's a better idea, so we'll get to that, because the slide's going to answer that. It's a great question, by the way, so we'll get to that. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Teachers are permitted to help the students with the technology questions. Again, the general directions will have the test administrators, the test examiners, remind the students about the different technological features that they've already been practicing with their tutorials, sample items, and practice tests in the classroom. Currently, since December, they are permitted to assist students with reminding them where the highlighter tool is and things like that. Different than NJS and HESPA, Parcc permits teachers, meaning the test examiners, to clarify general directions for the students at any time during the test. They were not able to do that prior. With Parcc, they are. Students can flag questions throughout the test. They can review and change answers. Yes, they could review and change answers with the paper and pencil, but what Parcc allows them to do, they actually can flag it, and there will be a review screen prior to them submitting their answers, and that review screen will show them any questions that they did not answer or that they flagged to go back to. And if necessary, if a computer fails, the student will get a new computer right away. It will be swapped out if there happens to be a problem. And if that anomaly does occur, the Parcc test automatically saves your child's test as is. When that student logs onto the swapped out new computer and logs back in, the test reloads exactly where the student left off. We did field test about almost 300 students last year, and this worked exactly the way it was supposed to. We'll talk about field testing a little bit later on in our preparation as a district for Parcc. Again, should that happen, also please know, Parcc does not time out. Just like NJS and HESPA, it is up to the test proctor examiner to time the test for the students according to the scripted manual. So again, should this anomaly occur, and we do not anticipate it to, but should it occur, we are prepared with additional computers in the classrooms as spares to swap out, and the child's work will not be lost. It will reload, and any time that is taken away to re-swap out that computer and the student to log back in is given back to the student. That time is not taken away.
State of mind? Okay, so we'll get back to that state of mind, but I just think to answer that question, I know I'm going to give it back to Ms. Rumbo-Morrell. Maybe the state of mind will be lost, but you're talking about the exception, not the rule. We have tested here for the past 3 years. We prepared for this for 4 years. We're ready to give students a real-world assessment. We're not preparing students for our past, it's for their future. Assessments being put online are part of their future. We need to get them ready. They need to have that state of mind when they go into college and career. They'll not be taking paper and pencil and the blue books like you and I took. This will be about a real state of mind. So we'll get to that, but we are prepared not to lose that state of mind. And we need that. But the great thing about Parcc being a baseline year, if, say, we ran into that issue, we will be able to give real feedback to the Department of Ed, saying there's things wrong with these electronic technological exams. So we'll get to it. Legitimate concern, which we've been working on for the last 3 years, that went through the budgeting cycle of preparing our technology to handle the bandwidth. You've been hearing districts having trouble with bandwidth. Not here in North Brunswick. We are ready. We have tested it. We have field tested it for the Department of Ed. We are ready to have our students take this exam, this assessment through technological means, and we are ready for problems. But the nice thing is, if we do lose that state of mind, we won't lose the minutes, and we'll report back to the DOE accordingly. Sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Zakowski. Again, comparing the multiple test administrations, again, unlike NJS and HESPA, which was a single administration once a year, we are looking at the Parcc being administered twice a year. In March, the performance-based assessment will occur, which will include reading comprehension. Again, just like with NJS and HESPA, students were required to read a number of passages. Critical thinking questions, writing in response to reading. Again, all things that they were asked to do prior on the NJS and HESPA. We will get into our language arts supervisors will be coming back up shortly to also go over these and show some demonstrations, including something that is new with Parcc called research simulations. On the PBA, mathematical skills applying to real-world applications will be included. The end of the year assessment will begin around the end of May and continue through April, again at the same time of 20-day window. This is mostly just reading comprehension with short answer items that are easily machinable, scorable, and mathematics, the conceptual understanding and skills, which again our math supervisors will come back up to provide all of you with a little bit more detail. We have also hyperlinked the NBT schools' March PBA schedules for each school. We're going to just show you the overview of the elementary, the middle, and the high school right now. Again, there are 3 sessions for the ELA. Our language arts supervisors are going to go through these with you. For the first week of March, grade 4 will be testing. And you'll see with the middle school, grade 8 will be testing the first week of March. This was done on purpose. The NJ Ask Science will still be administered paper-based to the 4th and 8th grade at the end of May. So it was the decision of the schools and the district to have them test first. That way they get right back into the classroom the week of March 9th with uninterrupted instruction. The first 3 days will be English language arts literary analysis, research simulation, and narrative writing. Thursday and Friday of these weeks will be Math Unit 1 and Math Unit 2. They did not have any fancy names for math like they did ELA, so they went with Unit 1 and Unit 2. I'll give away a little secret when we get to the EOI. They don't have fancy names for language arts. They went to Unit 1 and Unit 2. The second week at the elementary level will be grade 5, beginning March 9th, ending March 13th. And the third week of the test administration in March at the elementary will be March 16th through the 20th. That will be grade 3. All 4 elementary schedules have, all 4 elementary schools have the same exact schedule. There is no difference between the 4 schools. The AM PM is what I referred to a little bit earlier, where there will be groups of students in the 4th grade that will test English literary analysis in the AM, and then another group, let's just say Group B, will be in the afternoon. On the next day for research simulation, that Group B, who tested in the afternoon, would test in the morning. The Group A, who tested in the morning on Monday for literary analysis, would test in the afternoon on the next day, and it would alternate again giving an equitable, different time frames for the students to test. And really, it really should provide some great data in terms of students testing morning and afternoon. Again, this is the schedule for the elementary. Again, at the bottom is hyperlinked on all of the schedules, the actual school schedules with the times built in, so you can see that. The last week in March is for makeups, and JS and HESPA always had makeup session days. This does as well, and that will be scheduled based on the students' needs who need to make up certain sessions. The middle school schedule, as I mentioned, very similar to the elementary schedule. Again, all of our schools will do an AM-PM rotation, alternating days. Again, we see the same setup here. Grade 8, again, is testing the first week in March. Get them back in the classroom for uninterrupted instruction prior to the next round of Parcc. And again, because they will be taking the science, NJS science at the end of May. Grade 6 will be testing the second week, March 9th through the 13th. Because of the way the 6th grade schedule works, this was the best way to keep their schedule intact with their time periods. And then again, March 16th through the 20th, grade 7 will be testing. It is important to know that unlike with NJS and HESPA, where a lot of the school had to shut down because we were testing all at the same time, when grade 8 is done testing, the rest of the weeks in March, they're back in the classroom, regular instruction, uninterrupted. They go to all their classes. Their teachers are back into the curriculum, back into the content. And again, we see with the middle school, March 23rd through 27th, just like the elementary, are the makeups. And again, you see the hyperlink at the bottom. The high school. The high school is going to be testing the first 2 weeks of March. There is a good reason for this, and one, we are able to get in more testing time because we have more lab space, more rooms, and more staff here at the high school. Also, the state in late fall realized that these students in the high school, a lot of them may be taking the College Board Advanced Placement exams in May. So for all New Jersey high school students, Parcc will begin for the EOI session on April 20th. Unlike the elementary and middle schools in New Jersey, that will start again April 27th. So again, the high school wanted to get the students back into the classroom as soon as possible for uninterrupted instruction. And again, they have developed their schedule, AM-PM rotation. That way, they can, get their testing in, and makeups will go, according to their schedule. I'm sorry, can we? We have flexibility with this. If it needs to take place on a day that a scheduled makeup is not occurring, they can do that. They can schedule makeups within that 20-day window. It doesn't just have to be that week. You're welcome. We're going to take a look at the assessment times that are allotted, just like NJS and HESPA. Different sections were timed. For grade 3, the literary analysis is timed at 75 minutes. Again, the computer does not time them out. The proctor keeps time. Research simulation, 75 minutes. Narrative writing, 60 minutes. And again, you can see for grades 4 through 5, it slightly increases for the research simulation. And at the middle and high school level, again, same thing, it increases for the research simulation, but the other 2 sessions are the same time. 30 minutes are going to be added to each assessment session, meaning each day, each time, for logging in, distribution of material, and directions. So we automatically build in 30 minutes on top of this, really so that the students have enough time to log in, get their student authorization tickets, for the directions to be read. For math, again, the fancy names of Unit 1, Unit 2, you can see the grade 3 times listed, the grade 4 through 8, and then again, for those students taking Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, the times are listed there. Again, same thing, 30 minutes will be added to each assessment session for logging in, distribution of materials, and directions. Although we're primarily talking about March at this point, we did want to apprise you of the time minutes for ELA. Again, as promised, Unit 1, Unit 2, no fancy names this time. The grade levels 3 through 5 at the elementary will only have 1 unit, meaning 1 day of language arts instead of 3 that they had in March. For grades 6 through 11, they will have 2 days of language arts, not 3, each being 60 minutes long. And for math, they will have 2 days, Unit 1 and Unit 2, and as you can see, the times are listed here. And again, with all times, the 30 minutes will be added on to built in.